welcome back to the Nurse Life with me, Radika. Question: have you ever wondered what nursing may be like in the Bahamas compared to in the United States? Well, this video is going to answer all of your questions. Like I said, this video is going to highlight all of the differences, at least the ones that I've experienced. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to make an informed decision on what it is that you prefer. So for most of you, I know you probably think that nursing in the Bahamas is like sipping on a margarita on the beach all day. But trust me, it's not. It's not like that. It's not all peaches and cream. It's not sunbathing, like I said, on the beach all day, sipping your margarita. No, baby. No. No way. Not at all. Nada. No. So like I said, we're going to dive into some differences on the difference between nursing in the Bahamas, or the Caribbean, if you will, and nursing here in the United States. We all know what the most obvious difference is, right? So we're not going to dive into that just yet. So my first comparison that we're going to get into is the shifts, okay? In the Bahamas, we work 3 different shifts, okay? That's the morning shift, evening shift, and the night shift. So your morning shift is going to be 8 to 4. Your evening shift is going to be 3 to 11. And your night shift is going to be 10:30. So the first 2 shifts are 8 hours, and that night shift is 10 hours, okay? But within a full week, you're going to work a total of 40 hours. Whereas here in the United States, we're only required to work 36 hours. My shift, I work a night shift. So my shift is 6 to 6, okay? 6 to 6. That is a 12-hour shift. Whether that's a morning shift or a night shift, it's 12 hours. Now, the differences in nursing just generally vary, I guess, depending on whichever hospital that you're at. So one facility may be different from another. So like I said, I'm talking from my experience. So whereas my shift may be 6 to 6, another hospital shift may be 7 to 7. So the second comparison is documenting. You know, they always tell us what's not documented was not done, right? So documentation is very important in the world of nursing or healthcare. With documenting in the Bahamas, still documenting with pen and paper. Now, this can also vary based on facility as well, because I'm talking about the facility where I worked in the Bahamas. And so with this hospital, we still documented with pen and paper, okay? Black ink is what they would tell you. That's what we learned in nursing school. Now, we may get away with blue sometimes, and in certain units, they may have the computers, but for the most part, pen and paper. But here in the United States, if not all, then most of the documentation is done on computers. But I used to always think like, ooh, like I can't wait until we could document on the computer and not have to do all this writing. And now that I'm actually doing it, I want to say that it's easier because, you know, you just type in, you can always backspace if you make a mistake. You know, you don't have to cross out and sign for your error or anything like that. But I feel like it's still a lot that you have to do in terms of documenting. It's almost like it's easier or a little quicker because, you know, you just type in or just clicking, you know, click point system. But at the same time, I feel like it's so much you have to document because you do your physical assessment, you do your hourly or 2 hourly rounds, and just whatever you do, you have to document on the computer. Sometimes I would see persons like staying behind because they have to finish documenting whatever they did for that day. And it just takes a bit of getting used to. For persons that may not be computer savvy, you have to get used to now using these computers. And even for me as a computer savvy person, I still had to get used to like all the different programs because some hospitals use Epic, some hospitals use Cerner. So you have to get adjusted to all of these different documentation systems that different hospitals use. Thirdly, and this probably should have been first, the uniform. So the uniforms aren't quite different, but I will say that here we're allowed to wear tennis. We're allowed to wear tennis, and that is something that we were not able to do back home in the Bahamas, because if you weren't in your nice proper white nursing shoes, I want to say that you were not allowed on that unit, but it probably wasn't that serious. But they really took that to heart, that the uniform back home is a big deal, because they want you to be basically like a Florence Nightingale, okay? They want you to act like her, dress like her, you know, nurse like her, work like her. And so you weren't able to wear tennis. Basically, they wanted everyone on one accord, everyone to be uniformed, okay? Here, like I said, we're able to wear tennis, or, you know, I could wear my little colorful socks and don't have to hear about it. And then here we can also wear the jogger pants. Back home, they had a problem with that. Some persons probably get away with it, but for the most part, they have a problem with that. So here we can actually wear our jogger pants, and so that's something different that we couldn't do, that some persons are probably very excited about being able to do now that they're here. So I had to include that one on the list. Next is citing IVs. Okay, now this is a big one, because back home, nurses do not cite IVs. Now, in emergency situations, like maybe in the accident and emergency room, whatever you guys call it, nurses may get away with doing IVs there, but here it's almost like a must. Okay, so back home, when we would, page and call up the doctor and be like, hey, this patient's IV is down. Here, what doctor you calling to put up that IV? You better go grab your supplies and go and put that patient's IVs up. So that's a big deal. That was a big one for me. That was a big transition. Before I came over, I had to go, or I decided to go and take up an IV insertion course, just so I could have, now mind you, I did, 1 or 2 IVs before, whatever, but I just wanted the basic knowledge and training, because we did not learn this in nursing school. So I went and I did a separate course on how to insert IVs so that I can be equipped for when I came over to the US. But next on the list would have to be medication. With medication, first of all, what they do here in the States, we don't have to do back home in the Bahamas, or I want to say the Caribbean, which is scanning medication. Back in the Bahamas, we do have a Pyxis in some of the units, on some of the units, but not all of them. Here in the United States, they do use the Pyxis for their medications, to host or store their medication. Once you get your medication out of the Pyxis, and some persons actually have to scan their medication in the Pyxis, whereas I don't have to do that. But once I get to that patient's room, I have to scan that patient's wristband, and then I have to scan the meds to make sure that these medications are the right medications for this patient. So in nursing school, we learn about the 5 rights. I think it's probably 10 now. So this system is just to make sure that you're giving the right medications to the right patient at the right time with the right dose, all those rights. I think it's a good way to avoid those simple mistakes. And so this is probably something that they could implement back home in the Bahamas. And that makes a big difference. Some of the medication itself are different. Like some of the medications that we use now, this is my first time hearing about some of them. I'd be like, what? They have that? What? I never used this back home. That is why I would say medications is a little, comparable in both places, because of all of those differences. Finally, what most of you probably came to this video for is the pay, the salary, the moolah. I want to say that the pay is a major difference, okay? The hourly rate in the Bahamas compared to the United States is wide stretch, a wide difference. If you go and check out one of my older videos that I did talking about my paycheck, my nursing paycheck in the Bahamas, you will see how much I made as a new grad nurse, and even like a current nurse, like being what, 8-9 years in, what I was making at that point compared to, well, you won't see what I'm making now, and I'm also not going to tell you what I'm making now. I will probably make that in a separate video sometime down the line, but for right now, just know that the pay increase is much more on an hourly rate. In addition to there being this big increase with night shifts, you also get paid differentials. So when we work night shifts back home, I don't think we made any extra. And if we did, it really wasn't much. But I really don't think we made any extra for working night shifts. Here, you definitely do. That's not even a question. I don't even have to think about that. We definitely make differentials, is what they call it, because we work either night shifts or weekend shifts. So you get that little extra. Now for me, back home, I didn't really have much bills to pay. So whatever I made, I was able to save for the most part. Here, now that I'm making more money, I now have bills to pay because I have an apartment, I have a car note, I have bills. So it's like I'm making the money, but the money is still being distributed and allocated to different things. So it almost balances itself. And so that is something to think about, especially if you're coming to the US alone, or even if you're coming with a partner. Your partner may not find a job right away. So just keep all of that in mind. Now, you may think that the grass is greener here in the United States, but like they say, the grass is greener wherever you water it. So after all of those comparisons, I would hope that you can make a good decision and judgments on where it is that you want to work. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know maybe where you are now, where you plan to go, or just give me a thumbs up to let me know that you liked this video. If you like this kind of content, you want more, feel free to leave suggestions as into videos that you may want me to create for you. And definitely don't forget to press that red button down below. Subscribe to the channel, you love it here. And before I go, don't forget to press that bell button. That bell button is going to notify you whenever I post a video, okay? It's gonna pop up as one of your notifications to let you know that The Nurse Life has posted a video. So that is all that I have for now. I will see you guys in another video. Don't forget to check out my older videos, y'all. See y'all later. Bye.